58 of Dominica's 60 primary schools ready to implement Child-Friendly Schools initiative. Loss control in Dominica's water systems to be discussed in two-day workshop, and activities forming part of La Francophonie Week continued on Wednesday with the hosting of the Primary Schools French Festival. Hello and thanks for joining us on another edition of National Focus. I'm Mervin.
And I'm Tarnia Green. Stay with us for the details of the headline stories and others right after the break.
Documentaries and in-depth discussions, community walkthroughs, and Yes We Care. See it all on GIS Channel 7.
Welcome back. Time now for the details of the news. A workshop to discuss how best to prevent water loss in the island's water system began on Wednesday. The seminar was produced through close collaboration between the governments of Dominica and Colombia. The talks were officially opened with a ceremony at the Public Service Training Center where DOASCO engineers, representatives of both governments, as well as the media learned the importance of such a meeting. Minister for Water Resource Management, Honorable Reginald Austri, delivered remarks centering on the increasing demands for water around the world. According to Minister Austri, as a result of those demands, establishing the necessary water infrastructure is becoming increasingly costly.
Over the last 2 to 3 years, we have spent over $67 million in the provision and improvement of our water systems in Dominica. And we can speak to the $44.5 million that is now being spent on the West Coast Water Project, of which the government has to contribute $9 million to that project. We can speak to the Kenfield to St. Joseph pipe replacement project, which is costing the government $5 million. The Antrim filtration plant and pipe replacement project, a tune of $3.1 million. We have the Monbrook storage facility, which cost us some $4.5 million. The Penville water supply, which was just completed, cost us $2.7 million. The Warner water supply cost us $3.6 million. The Delis water supply cost us some $2.8 million. The Campbell water supply cost us some $1.5 million. The Benz water project on completion will cost us some $4.5 million.
In addition to those setup costs, government spends approximately $2 million on maintenance of these systems. A general manager of the DOASCO, Bernard Etinoff, served as chairman of the ceremony, which he opened with praise to government for recognizing the need to address water loss in Dominica's water systems. Etinoff gave reasons for water preservation.
Some of this demand occasioned by increasing population, increased need for food production, among others. While at the same time we are seeing a reduction of the volumes of water worldwide available for use. It is a time when the world has to grapple with climate change, which negatively impacts the quantity and quality of water and other natural phenomena, which dictates that countries must take measures to bring about greater water security for the well-being of the people. Effective control of unaccounted for water can therefore play a major part in ensuring the sustainable use of the resource.
He explained that the collaboration with Colombia in the area of managing water resources has been in the works for a while.
It is a continuation of what began in 2012 when a delegation from Colombia visited Dominica at the request of the government of Dominica and held discussions with many stakeholders. They also observed some of our water management practices and decided to share their expertise and experience with us in areas that they have made significant progress in Colombia, water loss control being a major one of those. We anticipate that other areas will be explored as the cooperation strengthens. And in a few weeks from now, with direct support from the government of Colombia, we expect a mission from Dominica will be visiting Colombia to observe and learn widely practiced successful techniques employed in the Republic of Colombia in water resources management. We therefore look forward to the tremendous benefits that can be derived as we partner together for the sustainable use, protection, and conservation of the island's water resources. And we also hope that our counterparts from Colombia will learn something from Dominica as well.
Eduardo Forero spoke on behalf of the Department of Cooperation and Special Programs of Colombia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
On this occasion, upon request from the government of the Republic of Dominica,
estamos iniciando una actividad relacionada con la gestión del agua.
We're starting an activity focused on water management.
Y al llegar ayer a su hermoso país y hospedarnos en un hotel dedicado a la observación de ballenas.
And yesterday, upon arrival in your beautiful country and upon checking in a hotel which is which expertise is whale watching,
empezamos a identificar como un posible interés de nuestra parte para solicitar a ustedes.
We started identifying an interest on our part to ask from you
buenas prácticas de turismo responsable que incluyan buceo y observación de ballenas.
Best practices of responsible tourism, including scuba diving and whale watching. So you can see that this approach of similar countries in terms of development provide for a two-way communication situation. In some aspects, Colombia has higher development as compared to Dominica, but in some other aspects, Dominica has higher development as compared to Colombia. He has reviewed the stats, the current statistics, and he can tell you that Dominica is at a better level of development right now in terms of education, health, and income. In respect of the main issue that for which we are gathered here today, this is just the first out of 3 or more visits that we're going to have which are focused on water management.
The loss control in Dominica's water supply system workshop ends on Thursday.
In other news, 58 of Dominica's 60 primary schools are now prepared to implement principles of the child-friendly schools concept, formally making way to implement the process at secondary schools on the island. The Child-Friendly School Initiative is a method used by the Ministry of Education to ensure that schools are safe, healthier, and a positive place for children. Coordinator of Special Education and Child-Friendly School Focal Point Officer Melina Fontaine gave an update on the CFS initiative at a training workshop for principals on Wednesday.
The Ministry of Education has for the past 3 years engaged in providing our schools with the knowledge and skills to practice positive behavioral management practices and to engage in validated practices that will ensure that every child succeeds. For example, schools implementing CFS principles are now teaching all students expected behaviors and are implementing school-wide reward and consequence systems that promote academic and behavioral success and decrease behavior problems. The Ministry of Education is also now developing a guide to behavior policy in schools. This will be completed and in the schools for the new academic year beginning in September.
Education Minister Honorable Peter Saint-Jean says the CFS initiative is one of several being undertaken by his ministry to improve the education of Dominican students.
For example, through the CDB-funded Education Enhancement Project, which is still ongoing, we have been able to train and are still training teachers and principals in various fields, in academic as well as in technical and vocational skills. We have also been able to procure equipment, tools, and materials, and we are in the process of establishing certain schools as centers of excellence for various subject areas. Again, the idea behind this is to provide the opportunity for each child to succeed.
Meantime, school principals had the opportunity on Wednesday to interact with two U.S. consultants working with the ministry in ensuring that the CFS is implemented in an effective way. One of the consultants, Dr. Robert March, is impressed with what he has been able to see at the schools thus far.
Today is really about being proactive. So I know we had the 3 Ps. I wrote the 3 Ps down. I will work within the 3 Ps. You know, the philosophy or the mission of our schools, not just something that sits on a wall, but is actually dynamic. It's taught to all the children. It's lived at the schools, and I saw examples of that in my visits out to Sinuku Elementary School and Salabia and going out to Grand Bay Primary. It was very nice to see that in action.
CFS is not only being implemented in Dominica, but also in the wider Caribbean, including Barbados. A team from Barbados is currently on the island to observe what the Ministry of Education is doing as it relates to implementing CFS principles at Dominican schools.
In other news, activities forming part of La Francophonie Week continued on Wednesday with the hosting of the Primary Schools French Festival. The festival, which was held at the Goodwill Primary School, brought together primary schools from across the island, depicting several aspects of the music, architecture, drama, art, and dance of the French culture. Education Minister Honorable Peter Saint-Jean was very impressed with Wednesday's presentation.
Bringing together of French students from our various primary schools is testimony of the fact that the Ministry of Education has embraced the importance of learning a foreign language from the tender age of 5 when students enter primary school in grade 8. I wish to note here with great satisfaction that this year there is an increase in the number of activities organized for our primary school students during the Francophonie Month.
In 1993, the government of Dominica introduced French as part of the curriculum of primary schools.
The number of primary schools doing French has grown from 4 to 51. It is my hope that within the next 2 years, all of our 61 primary schools will offer French as part of their curriculum.
Okay, as we mentioned earlier in this package, there's a series of activities taking place as part of the French Week of Activities, and with us today is Solange Payne, who is the president of the committee who is putting all these activities together. Welcome to GIS.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
Can you please tell us, first of all, the importance of this week's activities? What do you all hope to achieve?
Initially, the students would have their own unique assemblies at school, at their various schools on Francophonie Day. We decided that it would be good to bring all the schools together to celebrate the French language. So last year we had our first French festival where all the schools on island, the primary schools on the island that are doing French, come together to celebrate the French language. So we hope to motivate them to continue to love the language and also to reward them for their acquisition of the French language.
Why is the French language so important?
Well, first of all, we live between two French countries, Guadeloupe and Martinique, and many of the students travel to these countries yearly to visit relatives and friends, to spend vacation, to shop. So it would be good that when they get to these countries, they can converse with the inhabitants of these countries.
Okay, talk to us about some of the activities taking place this week.
Well, this week, schools had their own unique assemblies, the primary school that is. And on Friday, the secondary schools will have their get-together at the Alliance Française. Also, the primary school students are taken to Alliance Française where there's a film presentation. Okay. So they go on different days to view the film and to also visit the Petit Paris bakery so they can view firsthand the making of some of the pastries like the croissant and such.
Do you find over the years that the students are becoming more interested in the French language?
Definitely, especially the last 2 years, definitely.
What do you think is the reason for this?
I think a lot of the work is done by our coordinator, Michelle Christian, and the teachers are enthusiastic about the language, so they transfer that enthusiasm to their students who want to learn the language. And we also do a number of things to gain their interest. We do exchange among schools, locally and regionally. You know, and the festival is one of the things right now you really look forward to.
Okay. Finally, as president of that committee, how do you want to see this thing grow in the next, let's say, 3-4 years?
Only on Saturday, I was telling our coordinator that this year we have set it a high standard. Because last year we only had the festival, where the schools come together to celebrate that using dance, song. We had the quiz competition, where the winner got 2 tickets from Express des Îles. Okay. This year we have added the Mademoiselle Francophonie pageant. And I was telling Charlene that if we have set such a high standard, what are we going to do next year? Because when I look at the young ladies practicing at Arak House of Culture, they are so enthusiastic. So I think they motivate more students to want to take part next year. And when I look at the kind of things they're doing for that children, the practice they are doing, I'm telling Charlene, how do we top this? How do we top this in the next couple of years to come up? And I guess we just have to remain creative and bring in new ideas to top this year's.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
In more news, the Ministry of Education has been examining the services provided for children with special needs with a view to ensuring that the needs of children with special needs are met. Coordinator of Special Education in Dominica, Melina Fontaine, told a recent forum that the ministry has taken proactive steps to train teachers at various levels in special education.
We have so far engaged consultants on the CDB-funded project, the Education Enhancement Project, to assist us with the process. And we are presently now training persons at different levels. We are doing in-service training, and we have actually sent out persons to complete bachelor's and master's degree level in special education.
Ms. Fontaine revealed that one individual has been trained in speech therapy and will be available to work with children with special needs in September this year.
We now have 2 other psychologists attached to the Ministry of Education and 1 person who is completing training in speech therapy. So come September, for the first time in Dominica, we'll have somebody who is a speech therapist to provide services.
Fontaine says the Ministry of Education will continue to explore ways to ensure that the needs of children with special needs are met.
The field of special education is very broad, and we have much to do before we can reach all the children with special needs. Some of them require specialist services that we are unable to provide because of the lack of human resource. It follows that providing for children with special needs is a collaborative effort through a multidisciplinary team approach.
A team of specialists from the Rotary Club of Orleans in Canada is this week conducting a special training program for educators working with children with special needs. The training is being held at the Alpha Center.
The planting of trees and shrubs at 4 primary schools in Dominica is among activities planned in observance of International Day of Forests on Thursday, March 21st. Trees will be planted at the Warner, Concord, Bells and Granford primary schools. A panel discussion on the importance of the forest of Dominica will also be aired on Mapping's Channel 7 as part of the day's activities. This global celebration of the forest builds on the successes of the International Year of Forests 2011 and provides a platform to raise awareness of the importance of all types of forests. A release from the Forestry, Wildlife and Parks Division states that Dominica is proud of its achievements as it relates to the conservation of forests. According to the release, with 2 forest reserves and 3 national parks, 20% of the island is under legal protection, providing vital ecosystem or environmental services such as air and water purification. International Day of Forests, the first such celebration, is being done in accordance with the resolution of the General Assembly of the United Nations.
And Dominica's growth-enhancing factors were analyzed and presented to development partners and stakeholders at the launch of the Caribbean Growth Forum here last week. Based on the factors of logistics and connectivity, skills and productivity, and the investment climate, Senior Energy Specialist at the World Bank, Migara J. Wardena, presented a summary of Dominica's economic growth. J. Wardena determined that Dominica's investment climate is affected by logistics in relation to other nearby countries.
Because this is the cost of a 20-foot freight container from Miami to different locations, and you can see that the costs are on the high side. And that will affect, again, your ability to import things and export things. But I'll show that in a different graph here. If you look at that same container, you'll see that it's cheaper for me to get it all the way sometimes out to Buenos Aires, or it's not so much more expensive to get it all the way out to France here. But let's say that's because of the large volumes. But if you get out here, these are many neighboring countries, and you can see that your costs are somewhat high. So this again is an area that you could improve to increase your competitiveness, which will increase your chances for growth.
He went further to remark that Dominica weighs well against the rest of the world in internet connectivity. According to the presentation, Dominica may be able to improve its investor climate by recording success in government's geothermal pursuits, since investors have reported that the electricity rates on the island is one of the top hindrances to new business here. In the area of skills and productivity, Jawardena presented data indicating that while the education system in Dominica is meeting acceptable curriculum standards, the skills which students learn in school are not directly employable.
The first graph and charts, what it shows is that one is Dominica spends a reasonable amount on its education, but I think in many ways, more importantly, that you're getting pretty good education outcomes in English test scores when we look at math test scores. So that means you are getting your money's worth in that sense, okay? But I think, ultimately all education, you want them to lead to employment. And I think the school to work challenge, as we call it, is an important aspect that's worth looking at.
The launch of the Caribbean Growth Forum in Dominica serves as a platform for stakeholders and development partners to dialogue on the way forward for economic growth in Dominica and the rest of the Caribbean. Dominica was the final country of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union to join the forum. And that's the English segment of the news. McPherson St. Luce comes up next with your Creole highlights.
Alors tout le monde, bienvenue à ce nouvel créole. Non moi c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, ministre de l'Éducation Dominique organisé journée la francophonie et puis activité où les étudiants de l'école primaire participer en festival français. Divers aspects à concerner le langage et la culture français étaient assistés à l'école Goodwell. Ministère de l'Éducation en parmi d'autres officiers ministre de l'Éducation a doué cette cérémonie pour ouvrir le festival la journée.
L'année ça là, il a fait moi grand plaisir, moi bien plaît pour qui c'est l'école là, c'est teacher français qui prend initiative ça là bien sérieux. Et OK ouais pas ça qui a fait ici en l'école primaire Goodwill qui ont los enfants tout en Dominique. Yo ici et OK ouais ça qui yo ka mettre en l'exhibition pour moun ouais. Aussi moi voulais dire qui puisque Dominique est située entre deux pays français, Guadeloupe et Martinique, il est nécessaire pour nous, comme peuple Dominique, pour nous éduquer nous et apprendre le langage français, puisqu'il y a un lot Dominicain qui peut aller rester et vivre en Martinique et Guadeloupe. Et aussi bien important pour nous, comme gouvernement et un ministre de l'Éducation, moi passé, moi aller en Martinique. Moi avec le ministre de l'Éducation Saint-Lucie et nous signé un agreement linguistique. Nous avons créé un linguistic agreement. Là, teacher et étudiants Dominique qui bénéficient du langage français. Nous avons organisé ces teachers là, ça allé en Martinique pour une année et éduquer koyo en langage français et aussi teacher en Martinique qui est venu ici en Dominique et yo éduquer koyo en langage anglais. Aussi différentes écoles et mon cas créer associer l'école là pour prendre l'avantage programme ça là la teacher qui a éduqué les enfants français ça organisé ça nous a créé French Exchange Programs. Ça c'est là yo ka prend les enfants et yo ça les Martinique et aussi Martinique qui mène c'est père Martinique là pour faire temps ici en Dominique. C'est une grande initiative et c'est faut nous capitaliser à cette initiative ça là.
Madame Nouvelle, teacher différentes catégories en Dominique et tapé opportunité en septembre, tapé trainement qui State College Dominica offert. Parole celle-là sorti au directeur d'éducation State College Dominique, M. Mervin.
Il y a deux qualités de teacher nous avons train pour l'école primaire. Yon c'est teacher qui déjà travaille à l'école là. Nous avons en anglais in service. Nous avons un autre programme pour teacher qui pas jamais travaillé dans l'école. Nous avons ça pre-service. Mais n'importe ça nous avons fait à Dominica State College, nous le faisons bien. Et puis nous avons regardé comment le programme là travaille et puis c'est teacher qui pas jamais été à l'école. Et puis nous avons encore nous ni pour bailler pli qui nous avons actuellement. Quand ça nous le fait en septembre, c'est commencer un programme nous avons créé pre-teacher education. Ça c'est un programme pour préparer monde pour rentrer à un associate degree pour l'école première. Ça c'est un bagage neuf nous allons try implémenter en septembre qui va venir.
Ministre de l'Éducation a mis attention pour assister étudiants qui bien besoin de bagages spécial affaires d'éducation ailleurs, ça vous children with special needs. Parole celle-là sorti votre coordinateur éducation spéciale, ministre de l'Éducation, Mélina Fontaine. Sinon, Madame Fontaine, ministre de l'Éducation déjà mis en place pour trainer teachers différentes catégories pour faire éducation spéciale dans ces catégories étudiants là. Madame Fontaine fait parole qui a déjà traîné un teacher en South Speech Therapy. Ça c'est fait parole pour travailler et puis étudier qui a commencé en septembre l'année là. Et le ministre de l'Éducation qui continue de travailler dans ces catégories étudiants qui ont besoin d'éducation spéciale. Finalement, la compagnie de Wasco a continué de travailler à ce lot 1 projet de l'eau West Coast Pays là. Awal cela sorti officier relations publiques compagnie là Edward Regis. Sinon monsieur Regis, troisième section là qui a commencé après.
Lot 1 nous avons ça, c'était pour bâtir des intakes avec des facilités pour traiter l'eau. Ça nous avons travaillé sur ça, c'est un picade avec aussi un coup de biscuit. Nous avons commencé à bâtir ces places-là pour traiter l'eau. Nous avons aussi bâti chimé pour aller à intake là. Avec ça, continuer, avec nous bien satisfaits comment le projet a même courir. Troisième segment, pour commencer, en segment ça, nous avons bâti 9 storage tanks pour porter l'eau à ces différentes communautés, pour Capuchin. Avec ça, ça même pas commencé. Nous avons pensé que ça a commencé en tant qu'avenir, parce que le gouvernement n'est pas porter l'argent pour ça, mais l'argent qui pays European Union là pour tuer. Nous avons servi ça toujours pour faire des premiers segments en projet ça.
Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nous faire la créole pour présent. Non, moi c'est McPherson, c'est Luce. Au revoir.
Thank you, McPherson. Coming up, the tip of the day. Stay with us.
Today we will talk to you about the importance of self-leadership. In today's work and home places, we all have the opportunity to lead. Leadership comes in many forms. There are those who have the position of leadership, and yet the truth is, leadership is a behavior, not a position. All of us have the opportunity to lead every day through the choices we make and the actions we take. This is self-leadership. Self-leadership is leading from within. When we see the leadership within ourselves, we understand we can make important things happen in large and small ways. This kind of leadership allows us to explore other possibilities for ourselves and to be active in creating solutions to the challenges of our lives.
Self-leadership is making the choices to be who we are, to find joy in our work and to create the life we want. These choices are active and determine our life's journey. When we lead from within, we have the courage to accept the things we cannot change and to change the things we wish were different in our lives. When we believe in ourselves, everything becomes possible. It's all inside. And that's all for us for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and your comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website at news.gov.dm.
On behalf of the entire news production team, I'm Mervin Matthew.
And I'm Tarnia Green. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.